Namaste and welcome to Bhoom of Bharat with Rama Shivkumar, founder CEO SRK Game Changers, where we bring you a new update each week on GCC. SRK Game Changers is a GCC consulting services organization providing advisory, governance, and setup services across talent, business operations, and workplace solutions. We deliver customized, high performing global capability centers that encourage AI and digital innovation. We leverage the expensive skilled talent pool and groom the next generation leaders of tomorrow, a very important and indispensable part of the corporations today. And our tailored workplace solutions build technology as a core foundation. Thank you so much for always an encouraging remarks and the feedback we've started receiving from our guests and also from the audience for our focus and the uniqueness of themes we choose to discuss with our clients. Based on the request from a lot of you today on a very high demand, we have a special and a hot topic, which is where we are talking about GCCs as a strategic enablers, data center, digital, and beyond. And today we have a very important person, Kailash Maisekar, who's having 25 years of experience in setting up global capability centers. He is the director of India operations and part of the exec team at Idox. So, namaste and welcome to Bhoom of Bharat, Kailash.
Thank you very much, Rama. Thanks for inviting me.
So thanks, Kailash, and welcome to Bhoom of Bharat. And for the benefit of audience, if I can request you to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Rama. My name is Kailash Maisekar, and I've built a couple of GCCs here in Pune and other cities as well. Over 25 years experience now working in the IT industry. Worked through the whole spectrum of IT industry. I could say I'm the first generation of IT in this country. So yeah, been through all the ups and downs of this industry, and today I'm here in Pune. Set up a GCC for the last 5 years for a company called Idox. It's a British multinational company. And we are into government technology, and we are setting up our product development and R&D and support services center, global center out of Pune here.
So thank you so much. And first time when I met you last week, and we were talking about our podcast, and I saw so much of excitement and the way you are kind of developing the data center. I was kind of quite excited about it. And I thought that you've really helped build enterprise architect capabilities out of India. And as you mentioned that you are the first generation IT that we're talking around. So for US and European mid-sized firms that you're now be looking at coming to India, what advantages does India offer in creating scalable data and data center backbone through their GCCs?
Look, it's not just European or, it's actually everybody. The whole world can now benefit, from what actually India offers, right? So number one, India offers, as everybody knows, there's a huge talent pool, right? There's an amazing talent pool. Earlier, most of the talent pool was centered around, services, but now you can see a lot of talent that's coming in on the R&D space, in the area of product development, whether it is technology-based product development or manufacturing-based product development, you name it, the talent is now available, and it's abundantly available. So we're not talking about few hundreds or thousands here. We are talking about millions of STEM graduates, and there's an equal participation from women as well in that. So that's number one. And number two is there's a number of government policies now coming up that will support a lot of the industries, especially when you talk about the data centers. I think they are building a corridor in Navi Mumbai now as a data center corridor, which is going to be the next big thing, in India. And similarly, there are other states like Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Hyderabad, NCR. They're all coming up with their own GCC or data center policy, which will basically give companies an opportunity to set up their data centers here at a very, very economical cost. And added to that is the talent. And number three, I believe, is the government is putting together the policies which help companies, most of the companies, because what are the concerns, that most these companies have? One concern is, is my data secure, right? That's number one concern. Number two concern is this data center going to be compliant with the regulations worldwide? Because we're not talking about just India anymore. We are talking about GDPR and many other, compliances all over the world. So government is putting together all of these policies in place, which not just protects your data, it gives you the scalability and flexibility that you need, the talent that you need, but also giving you the protection that you need for not just for your innovations, but also your IT infrastructure and everything else. So I think there's a lot of potential now in India. So gone are the days where we were talking about just cost arbitrage. I think we have gone beyond that cost arbitrage now, and we are talking about what value we can add more, in terms of the chain, to deliver more to our global customers and our global parent and subsidiary companies.
Okay. No, this is good. In fact, if I, look back and you talk about the government, the kind of incentives, the kind of opportunities they're creating, and, the work they're doing with the academia is really awesome. Because, I would say in the last 1 month, I have seen Tamil Nadu, I've seen, AP. That's where we went, the Invest AP Summit and then Invest UP. How's that, even the, I would say, our Yogi Ji is kind of focusing on. So, see, stuff could be there. I was amazed to see how Lucknow is kind of picking up. So because I still feel that these European companies are very conscious. European US companies are very conscious about it. So what are they missing? Is there anything they should do differently to look at how India evaluate? You may want to kind of share any examples or something from your perspective.
That's a very interesting question. Um, as most of the European companies, and that's probably a perception. I think that European companies are not benefiting as much as the American counterparts. I think it's more of a perception from my point of view. If you look at the numbers, from NASCOM, especially on the IT side, there is equal participation. Remember that the bulk of the IT, innovations and all of that come from US, and therefore naturally the the land where innovations are done is the land where the adoption is also happening or happens faster. So therefore you mostly see American companies adopting the technology, and we all know banking and finance sector is the number one sector which adopts the technology really fast. So I think there's a number of, if you look at Pune market, let's say for example, I mean 9 out of 10 banks are there and these are European banks. I'm not talking about American banks. You name it. The European banks are here. I mean 9 out of 10 large manufacturing companies of Europe are there. You name the biggest automotive companies, they are there in India, not just Pune, but in India, Daimler, Mercedes, you name it, they are here. So I think, what I think it is the next step, in terms of European companies benefiting from the Indian market is the mid-market segment. The mid-market GCC segment is I think the most lucrative segment now. It's not just the big companies, but also these mid-market companies who can actually benefit. And India has time and again demonstrated that we not just serve the big companies, but also smaller and mid companies are welcome here, and they can set up their delivery centers, global capability centers, and create innovations out of here and eventually export. And that's what is happening. If you see, the Suzuki is exporting cars back to Japan.
Yeah.
We never heard of, we always heard of importing engines and cars from Japan, but now Jimmy is the most sold car in Japan, which is straight out of Indian factory in Gurgaon, exported to Japan. So there are a lot of companies who are now, coming here, not just the big ones, although mid-sized ones are benefiting from here.
Yeah. No, thank you so much. I agree. And a lot of times when I tell mid-sized companies, we reach out to the new ones and we tell them that, see, you can explore India as your own market as well. One is to sell your products. Second is also to use it to, try, have your innovation labs, do your digital twins. And, data is going to be definitely a very important thing. It's going to be the next, generation, which is what we're going to focus on. So I think that's very important. And thank you for sharing, an example here that was really very valid. So I would say that, data is more than just an asset. We are looking at it as a source of differentiation. So what's your view on how GCC should be positioned to build strong data governance, privacy compliance and insight driven decision systems from the ground up? You refer to also, GDPR.
I can give you example of what we are doing. I think that'll probably give you a good picture of what kind of practices that we are building. Now we have, as Idox, we have global data centers. We recently set up a data center in Morocco to serve the Middle Eastern market, and a lot of the services happen from our global capability center, the services. So for us, the key to some of these practices is, number one, this should offer us a flexibility to grow. Number two, the systems need to be resilient, for any kind of internal and external shocks. And the infrastructure that we have built, especially on the data center side, it needs to be future ready, right? So these are the three major guiding principles. And how do we achieve these, principles or objectives? Is number one, by having an architecture which is more, loosely coupled, decoupled, unlike the centralized, architecture system. So we use a lot of microservices, APIs, all of that kind of stuff, that allow us to, scale really quickly and provide updates and, product updates and all kinds of updates to our customers really quickly. The number two is, I talked about the infrastructure. So we use a lot of Azure, AWS. We also do Google Cloud, and the elasticity in terms of computing, the storage capabilities, the global reach that we have. And then the third aspect that we look at is, how do we actually, once we have this architecture and the infrastructure built, what level of integration and the exchange of data that is necessary? Because today, when we talk about decoupled systems, then the decoupled systems need to talk to each other, irrespective of your technology, agnostic way. And therefore, how do we actually use those different communication systems which act really real time and real time exchange of data? And a lot of automation goes into there. And then finally, we look at the whole of this from a data centric design, right? We talk about all of these things like, data is the new oil. And then somebody said, they took it to the next level and they said, data is the new soil, right? But now we say intelligence is the next thing. It's not data, the oil or the soil, but it's the intelligence, because having the data is of no use if you cannot produce intelligence out of it. And therefore, the artificial intelligence is where now banking on this data. So therefore, I think we have gone beyond data now. We are now talking about intelligence. So therefore, the data centric designs, is very important, where there is a personalization of the data, there's a decision making aspect to the data, centralization of the data and decentralization of the data, producing amazing analytics. Now, when you look at all of these things, that's when you start looking at, number one, what the governance says, from in terms of governance, what are the policies and practices which are of global standards that you need to have. That's number one. Number two, you look at the regulation side, like GDPR and high trust and several others, India's DPDP Act and several others. what is it, that it says? Number 3 is the technology that you have put in place. Does that technology offer you that scalability, flexibility, and resilience? And what are the things that you need to put in place? And last not but least is the people, right? If you have all of these things, and if you don't have the people who are well trained to manage all of this, it is of absolutely no use. So at Idox, what we are trying to do is we are trying to put all of these elements together, and it starts from the top. And therefore, what we have now become is we have actually become the backbone of the entire, like a digital backbone, of the entire company. Where, and one of the beauty is being a global capability center, we actually have a worldview. So, we serve a lot of our subsidiary companies, like, for example, Idox UK, Idox France, Idox Germany, Idox US. If you look at the requirements of Idox France, it's people who are working in Idox France, they only know about the French products, French customers, whereas UK is the same. But in the Global Capability Center here in India, we know exactly the whole world of Idox. And therefore, we are in a better position to now suggest a better architecture, a better design, better infrastructure requirement, better sort of trainings and development for the people. So that's actually the beauty of sitting in a global capability center and sort of become the backbone now, not just from a technology standpoint, but from a people and delivery and confidence and trust standpoint.
Okay. No, thank you so much. That's a very good example what you shared. And you're rightly saying we are moving into the world of hyper personalization, intelligent operations, and the real time risk management. So, what foundations do you think organizations should lay today to ensure their data ecosystems are future ready by 2030?
I think it goes back to what I just said just now. Is number one is you need to have an architecture, right, which is future ready, right? Future is moving towards decoupling. Future is moving toward distributed architecture. Future is moving away from closed proprietary architectures. So you need to be open. There are a number of frameworks that are available nowadays, right? So use any of those frameworks available, right? The second is build infrastructure that is scalable and that is resilient, right? And third is make sure that you have the right people in place, right processes in place, right standards in place, right policies in place, and people being, and all of this ecosystem is in place, which basically supports you as an organization. And more importantly, the trainings that are needed, because world is changing. Look at the cyber security. Last week we had a major cyber attack in the UK, and there was a scramble for all companies to go back and look at their cybersecurity arrangements. And one of the things everybody was focusing on was, do we have enough capabilities to handle anything like this in future? So we are looking back at our training and skill and capability part, and retraining our people on newer technologies, newer tools, newer methods of identifying. So I think these are the key for any company.
No, no, thank you. I think it's a good thing you're talking about the cyber attack. In fact, we did speak about in our last podcast with a cybersecurity expert that how is that, we could also help the larger corporations, the mid-sized companies to focus on the cybersecurity point of view. So, it'll not be wise if I don't ask you. You have led such a large team. So, how is that, you were able to manage this kind of a cultural, shift? Any, 2, 3 lessons or something you want to kind of, tips you want to share that with our audience or the future leaders who are looking to come to this GCC world?
Culture is a vast topic. There's the first thing we must appreciate the cultural differences that we have, right? Same thing applies globally. So one of the things that we do at Idox very frequently is cultural sensitization. So what that means is basically we sensitize people not just in the UK or Europe or US, but also in India about our cultural differences, our way of, working, and our, best practices, and appreciating each other's, cultures. So the sensitization, so our HR people team actually does a very great job in sensitizing everybody about our cultural differences. So we together work as one team. That's number one. Number two, at Idox, what we do is um, there is a we put a lot of emphasis on trust. When I say trust, I mostly talk about trust in people, because the differences within the teams actually arise when there is a lack of trust, right? So therefore, what we push from the day one is trust your teams and allow them to make mistakes. And there's a motto actually written on the walls of our company saying it's okay to make mistakes, but it's not okay to not learn from it.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's written on the walls everywhere. Everybody is okay to make mistakes. And that's something like a cultural shift for us, right? Um, Coupled with, the cultural, sensitization. The third aspect, what we are doing now is giving more responsibility and accountability to teams here in the Global Capability Center. We are not building a global capability center as just another offshore delivery center, right? And typical matrix based organization where there is a manager or somebody sitting in the US or UK, and there is a team sitting in India, and then working directly with them, and then things happen. We've taken a slightly different approach. We've built our own organization structure in India, where we have built a leadership team here in India, and we gave the roles and responsibilities and accountability to people here in India in the Global Capability Center. So, for example, if there is an important product release that needs to go for a particular product, right? The complete ownership of that release happens out of a team here in India,
That's awesome.
right?
That's really awesome.
So
And
that actually teaches the team in terms of going through the full cycle of the pain of the product. Sure, people will make mistakes, but then again, our motto is it's okay to make mistakes.
yeah,
But that's how we learn, and that's how we become mature.
yeah, that's what we I keep saying is fail fast. That's important. Unless you fail, the failure is the biggest learner, and unless you kind of fail, and it's okay to also kind of talk about it. Yes, I made a mistake, but this is what I learned, and you're absolutely correct. If you don't learn from it, that's not going to be something very sustainable into the future. I think you've been talking very interesting about the future as to how data center in relation to the GCCs. But I think it's going to be good to also understand we're talking about Bharat, at the rate 2047. What do you think? If, GCCs can play a role from a data center innovation lab perspective. Any thoughts on from you on this?
My view on, government has already put a target of where we want to reach by 2047, right? And looking at the GCC data, right, from published by NASSCOM, I think there are about 1,800 odd GCCs, and the growth rate is tremendous. And I think the shift is now going towards tier 2 and tier 3 type of cities, like cities like Indore, Coimbatore, and and all the other cities, even the Bhubaneswar, Ahmedabad, Lucknow, and cities like that, it's moving there. I think government is positioned, their strategy and their policy really clear of where we want to reach. I think it's up to industry, us now as an industry, to now benefit, from all of the vision that the government has set. And I think it starts from the leaders like us, where we share what the governments are planning here with our counterparts in the UK, US, and everybody else, and take them into confidence about what are the benefits that India brings to the table, what are the policies that the government is doing, what are the strategies that government is now putting in place, what kind of talent pool that is available in place, what is the level of diversification that we have in terms of locations and the benefits that each of the locations benefit. I mean, I remember, 25 years back, or 28 years back when I started my career, one of the biggest questions that I used to get asked by my American counterpart was, do you have uninterrupted electricity? That was the question that my colleagues in the US used to ask. That's not a question anymore. We are surplus now, right?
Yeah.
So those days are gone. And I think, we can start building on the vision that the government has set and show the positive side and make a business case for why we should promote India as a destination, for some of these, not just the GCCs. I think R&D and in countries moving towards building product, becoming a more of a product company, manufacturing based company, and not just a services company. I think we should all participate in that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I recollect back to 97, 98 when I was on a flight to Argentina. And the air hostess on the flight asked me, in India, the girls don't go to school. And I said that if that's the case, then how come I'm here, flying all the way from India to Argentina to be there for a year or so. So, yes, I agree. And I think I also saw one more thing very important, which I think AP was mentioning about innovation labs on the quantum computing. I think, we're talking about steps ahead. So, Kailash, I would also like to understand you've been focusing a lot on community services. In fact, today you were in the office, doing work on the community services. So, how do you think GCCs have been also helping in terms of also building in STEM skilling or any of the community service that they're doing?
A lot of companies are now, participating in various activities, such as, when we say giving back to the community, there's one aspect which is more of a, compliance or government pointer, which is CSR, right? Which is where, a lot of the companies actually spend their CSR money in doing community related activities. But some of us, go beyond, some of these CSR activities. So, for example, for cyber security, let's take an example of cyber security for our data centers. The availability of skill for cyber security is very less. So the only opportunity now for us is to go back and look for some bright kids and train them on some of the technologies, right? So what we are now doing is we are now participating, or collaborating with academic institutions in not just training the kids, but also shaping their syllabus.
Wow, that's
So
really good.
yeah, putting together some of these, non-credit courses or maybe some electives as part of that. And I know there's a lot of companies. I know a friends of mine who is a head of a GCC of a cybersecurity company. They have actually created a cybersecurity academy, and they have tied up with at least 3 engineering colleges in Pune to actually run the courses as an elective, which is a non-credit course but elective. But in the end, basically, everybody who took the elective get absorbed in their company. So there's one aspect which is the skilling aspect, but second aspect is getting the syllabus up to date with what the industry needs, and the third aspect is getting these kids ready, make them job ready.
Yeah, no, I think Kailash, you've given a very good example about government, academia, corporations, how the entire ecosystem in India is working, and with the kind of talent we have, definitely the larger corporations, the mid-sized companies, when they want to come to India, can benefit a lot. So thank you so much for this, Kailash. And on a lighter side, you want to share something about your campus memories?
Yeah, I mean, I studied in IIM Indore, beautiful campus. It's on a hilltop right outside the outskirts of Indore. One should visit the campus, not just for IIM, but just the sheer beautiful campus. You can see peacocks, wandering around. Very nice scenic view. So and it offers everything to everybody. Some are the other things. Somebody, there are things like pie shop. There's an adda. There's swimming pool, gym. There's a theater. There's somebody who looks reading books. They have somebody who loves nature. I love nature, and I love fresh air, which I don't get it here in Pune. So sometimes it's good place to actually go unwind. Sometimes I feel it's far more, 2 days spent on campus is worthwhile spending than a resort.
Okay, no, good. Thank you for this. And in case, Kailash, if your leadership style would have been a movie, what title will you give them?
I think my leadership style is more of situational leadership, right? So therefore, I think the social network movie, the Mark Zuckerberg movie, that is probably, I think, is what I can relate to, because this role as a GCC head, right? It's like 10 fingers in 10 bowls road, right? Today you are in a situation where you are dealing with auditors.
Yeah.
Tomorrow you are in a situation where you are dealing with the resignation, and day after you are dealing with a situation where you are actually sitting in a call with investors.
Yeah.
So you handle many different situations on a daily basis. So therefore, I think that movie actually depicts how you handle. Sometimes you have to be strong enough to manage certain situations. Sometimes you have to take a back seat. Sometimes you have to be more collaborative, and sometimes you just have to be like the wolf pack. You stand at the back, let the team go in the front, and you protect the team from the back. So I think the social network is probably a good depiction of the situational leadership.
No, thank you so much, Kailash. And it was thank you so much for this enriching experience and the thought leadership you were sharing on the GCCs, and especially on the data center, how 2030, or we're looking at Bharat in the terms of 2047, how data is not only going to be informing, more on predictive that you're talking about, information's being used there, but it's also going to shape the future strategy, and it's going to also position India at the heart of conversations we are, for that. So thank you so much once again for joining us on Boom of Bharat.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. It was a good conversation, very good questions.
Thank you so much. And for the audience, thank you for tuning in to this special episode of Boom of Bharat. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights on the ideas and innovations shaping our world. If you have any thoughts or stories to share on this topic, we would love to hear from you. You could connect me on LinkedIn, SRK Game Changers, or drop your questions on our website, srkgamechangers.com. Until next time, namaste from Boom of Bharat.